You know what I like? Weird things. You know what GMod has plenty of? Weird things. This is a weird maps video. I do quite enjoy these strange levels, as in TF2 some of my most favorite experiences have come from exploring these bizarre maps. So one day I announced one of the weird level videos I was working on, and I also left a comment suggesting me to take a look at some strange levels on GMod, and I thought sure, why not, I already spent a lot of time on GMod doing animations, so I could check them out. So before we start, if this video does well, I will be interested in doing part 2, so if you want that to happen, make sure to hit the like button and share it with other people. Alright, let's start. So the first map of the video is called Subliminal, and it sure was a trippy experience. I spawned at some party room, which quickly led to some statue room with even a bigger statue of deer, which you will not expect to find in the same building with a dance floor, but that was probably the least weird thing about this level. As soon as I passed the hallway with sirens blaring, I found myself at this really trippy space where I can't even describe how to feel about this, which led me to a courtyard which then had an entrance to some outdoor area with a big lighthouse, which... yeah, probably best that I don't think about it. So after that there was this grass room which then led me to a house which at first didn't seem to have anything too interesting, but actually housed a quite interesting secret, but I'll return to it later. I stumbled my way to the dev room where it had a couple neat paintings, which then led me to a really trippy spinning room where it was nearly impossible to get out, but few of the computers had RuneScape in the background, so that was a neat detail. Speaking of RuneScape, I might as well showcase my stats here. Quite impressive, isn't it? And yes, woman, don't talk to me. I found myself at some rundown building with a cross on the floor, which if I had to bet is a reference to JoJo Part 2 where Season gets crossed by said cross. There was also an ultra kill door, but I will return to it at a later point. Returning back to the dance floor, there was a hallway to the bathrooms which had Shrek in one of the bathroom stalls, and he wasn't too happy with me disturbing him. Then at the end there was a swimming pool, which is pretty neat until you remember that robots can't swim. So back at the house I discovered a secret elevator hidden behind bookshelves, which then led me to some teleporter room that required a battery to function, and I happened to remember that the deer was holding one. But before I went to look for the battery, I found this cave where someone clearly has lived in, with a functional TV as well. I do wonder who could have lived here when a more comfortable place to live is like right next to it. I returned back to the deer statue and grabbed the battery with me, right before blasting out the Breen statues, as fuck that guy in particular, but then I learned that whenever you turn your back they will reappear, which is kind of eerie if you ask me. So as I was taking the battery back, I stumbled back to the Ultra Kill door and decided to check it out first, and it led me down the usual starting area of Ultra, and then I found myself at some spaceship. It had this big room which I am not too sure on what it is, and there was a command center where I found this spinning chair that activated the hyperdrive feature that didn't take me anywhere, I think? I didn't really notice anything too out of the ordinary, so I just returned back to my original task. And that was shoving this battery inside this port without any oiling, just raw ducking it, which then climaxed the teleporter on, and that took me to a sandy beach that got me really tired and sore. This might be the first sentence I've ever written for a video. I am really going to quit YouTube, I swear. So Subliminal, huh? It was pretty neat map. I wasn't expecting it to take this long to cover it, but man, it has so many bizarre elements that I could not really cut anything out. So I guess if I were to give a score on bizarreness, it's 8 out of 10. Now let's go to the next map. Jumping to PS2 is sweet and short, yet quite strange. It is a map that takes place entirely inside PS2 and unlocks many memories from when I was a wee laddie playing on that thing. So you got 2 doors, one takes you inside the starting screen's towers, and if you were to fall it will take you to red screen of death where you will then die. And then the other door takes you to the menu where you can enter the browser, which will allow you to configure your save files or start your selected game. I still remember those silly save icons and their animations, they were quite neat. And then the other side takes you to system configurations where you could change the language or the time, because for games like Ratchet putting it at 3 AM would allow you to enter the Insomniac Museum. I included this in cause it was rather weird to be able to explore the inside of our PS2 even if it was quite short. For this map's fitness I give it 6.5 out of 10. GM Trippin is rather weird. You start off at a parking lot of a movie theater, and inside you can test the sound system, which causes a huge explosion. Then I stumbled my way to some pixel area, which led me to some room with earthbound being played. Then I found myself at a place with similar flashy lights like in Subliminal. I was then at a snowy area with different shops with one being abandoned, pretty spooky, and found the same spaceship from Subliminal with the spinning chair and this pretty neat skate park. There I discovered some games room, later some ball place and a deaf room with spinning horses. More like spinning Uma Musumes, am I right? And finally, this house had a dance floor where you could go crazy. Pretty neat level, I kinda like it. It was more of a bite-sized map, but it wasn't as weird, so with it gets 7 out of 10 on the weirdness scale. GM memory is quite haunting. It is a level inspired by the Stalker game where it takes place in a world where Chernobyl had a second explosion at the mid-2000s, as everything bad has to have a sequel. You start outside these abandoned buildings and right off the bat the eeriness sets in as it's so quiet. Too quiet. So let's look at our star attractions. We got abandoned building number 1, which is some sort of apartment complex. Then we have a playground with 3, count them, 3 full slides. Then we have an abandoned building number 2, which counts as some utility house. We then got toilets, some power generators and an abandoned building number 3, which is even in a worse shape and has a working radio. Sure, this map is a bit unsettling, so what makes it weird? Well, the secrets in this map are very strange and even at some point creepy. When you walk over some spots, some strange sounds play, then just outside the playable area when I knock clip out, I ran into some black figure that screamed at me when I approached them, which was rather rude. And at the water tower there's another radio that plays more strange sounds. So spooky sounds and some strange black guy, that's like in every other GM construct map. But wait, here are the creepiest parts. If you were to kill every crow in the level, corpses start falling from the sky with the word doll appearing on screen. And said doll can be found at the playground, and if you were to put it in some stone box, the ground starts shaking and the words "he's been there for a long time" appear and a corpse falls to the ground. I'm sure there are more secrets, but these are the ones I could find, and so truly this map gets 10 out of 10 on its weirdness. And that is all the maps. I wanted to showcase a bit more, but I went into more detail than I expected. If this video does well, I'd be interested in doing part 2, cause I do want to expand a bit more from the usual TF2 content I make. So again, like the video if you enjoyed it, comment down below your own thoughts regarding this map, subscribe for more source related content and have a nice day.